right. I'm officially live on both YouTube and TikTok. And all right. So this one is called I Think I Died at the Age of 5, an old haunted nunnery. So when my grandma was alive, she lived with my granddad in an old converted nunnery. I heard countless stories of it being haunted, so my mom told me I could only go up there with a friend. He was around 2 years older than me and lived next door to the old nunnery. My grandparents lived in it, and I remember my grandpa, oops, lost my spot. Um, I remember my grandma trying to feed us old, warm sweets off her table and her being very warm in nature. Up onto the second floor, the house got cold, and for context, there were 3 floors to the house, and underneath of it had an old filled in tunnel that connected to another nunnery in case of any evacuations during World War II. Or during, yeah. Many people went to this house and said it was haunted, but I never remember seeing or feeling scared of it myself. So for context, there was around 6 kitchen fires when my dad was younger, and countless near-death stories, experiences, including the old car my grandparents had going off a 10-foot drop while my aunt at the age of 3 was in the car. Around when my dad was 17, he and his friends were playing pool in the attic. This is where they kept the naughty children who misbehaved. There was an original gate kept from this time that was never removed for some reason. He was always told to just lock it. Oh my goodness. Oh, yes, fix the mic here. There we go. Okay. Now, so once he shut the green gate and went downstairs, my dad and his friends, when locking the downstairs door on the ground level, heard a smash wide open against the wall. It sounded so long, like metal smashing against stone, but it was all wooden. But this story doesn't end there. Remember the friend that I had to go upstairs with? Well, on the second floor, there was a cupboard, but this cupboard opened into full-sized room. The issue here is that it was only big enough for a child to crawl in. I remember telling my mom I was going in there, and she would say happily, "You're so brave." But this cupboard had a pull-on chain light, and myself and my friend would never turn it on. As he had said, it was more fun that way. I remember him protecting me and comforting me whenever I would get scared. I would feel cold things touching me. He would whisper in this room. The scary part was there was a chute crawl space joining onto the room that lapped around the house. I forgot about this for the longest time and recently remembered. I told my mother this exact story and her face went white. "Jen, you were never allowed upstairs without me and your friend and never stepped foot into the house." Maybe it wasn't a friend, maybe it was something else. Okay, that story seemed a little bit choppy, so it's hard to decipher. Also, I am live on YouTube, so if you want to see what I'm reading, feel free to go over there. If not, no worries. I also have a better mic on that side, so there is that. Okay. This is another one, but I see that's a little bit lengthier, so I am going to get myself water. I'm going to get myself some water, so I'll be right back, you guys. Alrighty. I am back. I gotta get some water. So just so you guys know, I am live on YouTube. If you guys want to join me over there, feel free. You can see what I'm reading out loud. If not, no worries. Give me 1 second. Can you guys hear me all right? I hope you can. I also have like the music playing too on the YouTube side. So, but there's that. Just setting up a couple things. Okay. All right. So this one is called It Began with Death. I'm not sure where to begin with this, but it started with death. Going into my senior year, we lost a fellow student in a car accident. It was a pretty intense situation. I knew the girl named Taylor and had seen her in the hall only a few weeks before and said hi. We were never really great friends, but we had a mutual friend and had spoken recently on chat about the guy we both knew named Eric, who was only a few years older than us. After Taylor passed away so tragically and a lot of hurt was seeping into our community, the mutual friend was devastated at the news. He becomes very important in the story, by the way, and met with her family for the first time after her death. Taylor came to me in a dream that night. I was looking at her from across the desk when we never had a class together. So I said, Taylor, why are you here? You shouldn't be here? Question mark. In my dream, my friend Jade turned around and said, who are you talking to? Taylor then disappeared before I could point out she was clearly there. All of a sudden, I was in the local graveyard beneath this tree on a hill with her, and she just kept repeating in sobs, I'm so scared. I'm so cold. I don't know why I'm here. Please help me. I want my mom. I want to go home. And all I could do was try to get words out to comfort her or something, but nothing came up. And then I woke up. There was a service a few weeks later, a majority of our school attended. She was driven away in a hearse with her family friend behind for a private burial in a local cemetery. I caught up with our friend Eric at the service, and he said that they had picked the most beautiful spot for her. It was on a hill under a tree. I had no way of knowing what that meant, and I had dreamt of Taylor a few weeks prior to it. To this day, it seems so real when she came to me in my dream that she was crying and she was crying out for help to one of the few people that may have been able to hear her. I've had a few crazy experiences with paranormal happenings, and I'm happy to share them, but it's always a somber feeling when I realize that they aren't made up, that the fear I felt through every experience was real. Oh my gosh. Just so you guys know, I am live on YouTube. So if you want to join me on there, feel free. You can read everything that you can see everything that I'm reading. If not, no worries. Um, so yeah. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna upvote that one. Hope the music isn't so loud on the YouTube side. I'm gonna turn it down just a little because I don't know if it's too loud on the YouTube side. Okay. So this is what's the strangest place you've had a supernatural encounter or the strangest supernatural encounter you've ever had? Um, Using mobile, so sorry for mistakes. I haven't really had any strange place encounters, but a strange one that happened for me was to do with a reoccurring dream. I was in my house, but it was in some weird suburb instead of where I live in the UK, so it was really out of place to see a council house there. All I know for the first few times was just wandering around and always waking up, back up in bed the next time. These dreams happen maybe once or twice a week, apart from the last time when I woke up in the kitchen floor. I was confused, so I went outside for a bit. I've always been able to have lucid dreams, so this really wasn't abnormal to me. But after walking and finding nothing, I turned to head back, and that's when I keep hearing this clicking sound. Then, it's kind of like when you pop a bone but more crisp sounding. No matter how many times I looked back, I couldn't find the source, so I just kept going. It stopped when I was back into the house, but it felt very off, like uncanny almost. Of course, I knew I was dreaming, so I didn't get all that freaked out. I just decided to head back to my room again, so I started walking upstairs, and that's when the clicking started again. So above halfway up, I quickly turned, and I was suddenly filled with fear. I didn't see anything that I remember. This is honestly the part I struggle to remember, but I just remember this horrible primal fear. So I sprinted up to those damn stairs, crashed into the wall, and knocked a paint. As luck would have it, my room was the end of the hall, so it stood a few seconds to get there. By the time I did, the clicking was at the place of the clock ticking. I ran or rather through my bedroom door and heard the thing thud into it. When like a sc- when a scratching climbing sound, then something scratching like when you scratch like the window. I have a small window above my door, and after that, silence. I woke up not knowing. I woke up not long after the first odd thing that was when I had fallen asleep in the front of my door. Despite going back to bed previously, despite going to bed previously, second odd thing was chips of paint and wood outside my door, but the door itself was completely fine. And the third was the fact that the painting I had bumped into was no longer straight but slightly tilted. Oh, okay. So like previously they ran into that painting and they knocked it over or something like that. And yes, I'm reading. You can see what I'm reading on YouTube if you like. But yes. Okay. So, and the third was the fact that okay, nothing else came from it, but it was really a strange experience. I have never been able to explain it really. I have plenty of dreams and odd, spooky stories like this, but this one really stuck out as one of the few that really stuck. Probably a few details I missed, but this was almost 2 years ago, so I'm giving myself a pass. So the reason why they call this the supernatural is because they've had other weird encounters in this house that don't make much sense, but they would like to keep on posting. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, it is strange. I don't know. For me, it's hard to discern because I feel like dreams in itself, like they're dreams, and yeah, like people can have premonitions in dreams and all this stuff. But this to me just seems just spooky, like I'm just kind of like adjacent to a nightmare. Like it's spooky, it's creepy, but it's nothing too super paranormal or supernatural. So it's hard for me to maybe follow, but I don't know. And thank you for the likes. Thank you. Okay. All right. So this one is called A Boy in the Hospital. When I was a child, I had spent several years in and out of the hospital with childhood cancer. Oh my God, my heart. I'm in my 30s now, been in remission for over 20 years, but I don't really remember a lot from that time. There was occasional memories that would reappear, but I really can't make much sense of it all. This one had been particularly unsettling that I keep revisiting. I want to say I was 8 years old when it happened. My parents alternated staying with me there, but my mom had to leave for a couple of hours, so I was on my own, wandering around the pediatric ward with my IV on a large pole. I don't remember how, but I ran into a boy my age in the neighboring wing. We talked about video games. We looked around for a TV on wheels with a SNES and eventually rolled into his room. I remember asking questions like how long he had been there, what he was in for, but he always gave really short and very vague answers. I asked where his parents were, and he said they were back at work already. However, when we would go to his room, there were no personal possessions, and the bed was already made like it was freshly reset. I wasn't thinking of anything at first, but I plugged in the TV and the SNES and started to feel very uneasy. He sat on my bed and told me I can play first. I sat on the chair near the TV and we kept the door open. We both had IVs. I thought mine was fully charged, but then it started beeping and then it needed to be plugged in. Since the cart didn't have a power strip, I looked around for an outlet. I asked him if he needed an outlet for his and he responded, I don't need one anymore. I suddenly got really uncomfortable and decided to leave, and he looked kind of like unfazed as if I left the he looked very unfazed as I left the room. I had thought I knew all the children in my ward and the neighboring ward, but I never saw him before or ever again. I asked my parents and the staff, but no one seemed to know what I was talking about. He had brown hair, was slightly chubby, but he didn't look pale or sick like the other kids. I don't know if he was just a strange kid, but the fact that nobody else saw or knew him kind of stayed with me. I remember him crying from the ward at night after the children had checked out. I wonder how much of this was my imagination or if there was something paranormal about that hospital. Please let me know if anyone has had any stories about paranormal pediatric units or has had any questions. That is so strange. Hi, Albie. Oh my gosh. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube side. Yeah, I think it's interesting. This one really got to me in a sense that like it has the elements of children being very sick, and I feel like hospitals are just such a really interesting, and it's always scary when we hear ghost stories in hospitals. Like it's a place of, I think personally, most of the time, especially like tragedy, hope, stress, anxiety. Also, if you're a child and your parents can't stay with you all the time, like, I can't imagine that. Um, the fact that, like, the part where it really got to me was when he's like, "Hey, do you need a plug-in?" And the kid was like, "I don't need it anymore." Like, what? That was a strange story, like, what? And if you guys wanna see what I'm reading, you can join me over on the YouTube side. If not, no worries. Okay, I'm gonna upvote this one and go on to the next story. Okay, so this one's called Paranormal Janitorial Job. This is another one. I think schools can also be kinda, like, spooky, especially if you're by yourself in a school. I don't know. You let me know because I remember so I used to sub, and there was this one school that was so like, it was a beautiful building architecturally and everything. It wasn't like, a standard school, if that makes sense, like a very boxy modern school. And I remember, like, I had to teach or I had to be so I was subbing for, like, a math class that was in the basement out of all things, like the basement floor, and it was, like, a smaller sectioned off area, and it made me feel so uneasy. I don't know, but yeah. Alright, so I'm about to read the story. If you guys wanna see what I'm reading, make sure to check me out on there. If not, no worries. Thank you so much for the likes. Okay, so I'm from a small residential town in Canada, BC. So my story is based around 2016 and 2017. Not sure on the months, but I know it was in the fall, around 2 weeks of working in the community school. I love how technical they are. Okay, for the first few paranormal experiences that happened to me was in the Broad office. That's like a minute walk from the back of the school. I know I was in the the Broad, I keep saying Broad, board office, alone because I always check to see if there's someone staying late. So after I checked around to make sure not to scare anyone, I went downstairs where there was a meeting room that was used for storage. Did the music stop? Let me just double check. I think it should be. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so where was I? So after I checked around to make sure no one was there, not to scare anyone, I went downstairs where there was a meeting room that was used for storage. It was an open space for shelf to store files and whatnot, and plus the washroom in the back corner. So I usually clean the washroom first, but I go up to clean the office upstairs. So I cleaned the washroom, grabbed the garbage. Then as I was leaving the washroom, I heard some lady I didn't recognize say, "You bitch," to the right side of me. I had my wired headphones hanging off my ear to hear my music. I know all the songs I have in that playlist. I um, looked over my shoulder to see no one standing in the dark corner. I swear my heart almost stopped when I saw no one there, then booked it back upstairs and calmed myself down. Went back to cleaning, but as I was walking around, I looked out the windows to see if there might be like someone standing outside, but there was no one around. Another time I went up cleaning the board office. It was sometime in October, so it was getting dark out earlier. I cleaned out the offices before I went down to the washroom downstairs. After I cleaned the washroom, I swept all the floors down there. As I was sweeping, I heard footsteps outside the stairs. I always lock the door when I'm in the board office. Then heard the door unlock. The door open, then close, so I think I like yelled up to let whoever came inside. I was there cleaning and apologized if I scared them, but nothing. There were no other footsteps, no response back. Thinking, okay, maybe they didn't hear me, so I repeated myself. I walked up saying hello, but there was nothing. Went to the front of the door to see if anyone was there. There was no one. But I did see the door unlocked when I know I locked it right behind me. So I said, the hell with it. Grabbed all of the garbage in the hallway where I left them. I walked up towards the back offices and one of the doors slammed shut. I ran out, locked it behind me, and went back to the school shaking. So back I had a panic attack. Don't worry. I called someone to go and check on the board office and they helped me calm down. To be continued. Okay, that is scary. That is very scary. Like I said, I think schools can be pretty spooky, I think. So, um, Also, it's crazy to think we are in August and daylight savings is just around the corner. And can we just say that daylight savings is just very useless? I hate daylight savings. Like it's like, oh, it gets so dark and depressing and yeah. That's what it made me think of. And there's just yeah, that's all I got to say. Daylight saving sucks. What's the point of it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna read that one. Okay. So this one is called Saw a Ghost. And again, if you guys want to want to join me over on the YouTube side, feel free. You can see what I'm reading, and hear the music, hear my mic quality much better. But yeah, okay. Daylight savings is terrible. It is. It is. I hate it. I hate it so much. Like, what's the point of daylight savings? Like, I've never met someone that's like, yay, daylight savings. Never. I've never met someone that's like, yes. I just always feel like it's pointless. And like, I read a statistic and don't quote me on this because like, I don't remember like the actual number count on this, but I'm pretty sure daylight savings also, from what I remember reading, causes like heart attacks and stuff, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Yeah, fun stuff. Not fun stuff, really. But anyway, so I saw a ghost. Years ago, I had the following experience. My boyfriend and I at the time had watched a film, and he said, "I'll take it back to the rental place, which was down the road from my house." Ooh, rentals. That's been a minute. It was late afternoon, and my parents were home. While he was returning the rental film, I was waiting in the porch and looking at the house across the road, where a boy had lived who died in a car accident months before. The boy had been around 14 when he died, and I was looking into the house and thinking about him when I saw a figure appear slowly in front of the window of the house. I could see a figure wearing a blue jacket, jeans, and could see a head, but no facial features. It was just a pink kind of molted face. Then the figure began to vibrate side to side, which was fairly frightening to see. I was, of course, shocked and scared. I turned back into the house, and my mother said that that's what was the matter. I told her I saw something very strange and told my boyfriend also. I don't think they believed me, but I saw it for sure. I feel still to this day amazed and awe of what I saw. I feel very honored really to have witnessed it. I only told 5 people about this. I felt people would think I felt that people would think I was strange. I was about 20 years old at the time, and now I'm 48 and still remember it clear as day. Well, yeah, that's probably why there was a rental. Good old rentals. Do you guys remember that? Does anyone here remember rentals? Like, I used to have fun going to like, I don't know, like Blockbuster and like there was this place in a small town that I went to high school, and I forgot the name of it, but this is, like, for a while there, like, when they closed down these, like, Blockbusters, they had, like, other small, like, rental shops, and I don't remember the name of it, but I remember it always being, like, a little treat to go and, like, going with your friends or going with, like, a loved one and, like, just, like, going down the list of things and, like, like, movies and stuff. Just, like, this nostalgia to it, and now I see either, like, on Pinterest, I've seen, like, TikToks and stuff of people, like, replicating, like, their own rental place. Like, there was, well, maybe, like, 2 people, okay? But, like, their house is so big that they can, like, make, like, a little rental, like, Blockbuster replica in their basement. Has anyone seen that, or is it just me? I don't remember where I saw it, but somewhere on the internet, and, yeah, it's just I don't know, just nostalgia, guys, nostalgia. I think, like, the last Blockbuster was in Alaska for the longest time ever. I don't I mean, I think it closed down, like, years ago, but I'm pretty sure Alaska was, like, the last state to have the Blockbuster. I don't know why I know this random fact. Maybe my husband told me. I don't know, but yeah. Thank you. Yeah, okay, probably on TikTok, you're right. Yes, LV rentals. Okay. Um All right. So this one is called Knock Knock. And for those of you joining, I am live on YouTube. So if you want to join me over on YouTube and see what I'm reading, feel free to do that. If not, no worries. It might be better viewing experience. I think it might be better viewing experience on YouTube, but if not, no worries. Okay. So this one's called Knock Knock. A couple decades ago, between jobs, I decided to upgrade my skills by taking advanced software classes at a computer learning center located in a landmark structure known as the Uptown Bank Building. While this well, this is an edifice glistening terracotta exterior. These are very words I'm not using. Of the 1920s elegance, its interior is a warren of small, dark offices. Originally, many housed the practice of optimist. Oh gosh, eye doctors and dentists through at least a few served as fronts for criminal activity during the Prohibition era. Jesus. Oh, okay. Thank you for correcting me, Carl. um, by the time I arrived on the scene, however, the building was almost occupied by social service organizations catering to the needs of the neighborhood's now Southeast Asian population. Though I didn't really know it initially, the space where my classes were held only recently been vacated by a daycare for elderly Cambodians, a place where they would gather to do traditional crafts and sing and do folk songs. Anyway, as my class progressed, I fell into the habit of occasionally having lunch with the director of the learning center, who, being just a few years older than me, had become a friend and a mentor. During the break between classes, we'd sit in her office, enjoying our sandwiches and chatting. One day, as we were doing so, a couple of loud knocks sounded on the door of the adjoining reception area, something my friend attributed to a student wanting to come in for additional computer time. "The door's unlocked. Do you mind telling them to come in?" she asked, since she was still eating her sandwich while I had finished mine. "Sure," I said, ri- rising to walk the few feet to the furnished space. Entering it, I called out the friendly manner, "Door's open, you can come in." At which point the doorknob turned and the door slowly opened, for all the world as if somebody was right outside the hallway. But the only thing was, nobody was out there. By now, the director had come in. Seeing no one but me, she asked, "What happened? Did they have something wrong? Did they have the wrong suite?" "No," I said. "The door opened, but no one was there. Maybe they left. I'll see if I can catch them." "Wait," said the director. But I was already off, walking quietly down the hall. Though the building's design pretty much precluded anyone from getting away without being seen, my mind demanded explanation of those knocks. So I searched the T shaped hallway and its elevator lobby thoroughly. Not finding anyone, the question arose in my mind: could they have possibly gotten on the elevator? That brought a laugh, for not only were their 80-year-old elevators extremely slow and creaky, their arrivals and departures were always heralded by an old-fashioned annunciator so loud it could be heard in every office on the floor, doors closed or not. Having not heard a ding, not aware from a personal experience that the stairwell doors were fully alarmed, meant no one could have gotten away from the area in a traditional manner. But in a non-traditional manner, maybe for when I returned to the computer center, the director was shaking her head. You didn't find anyone, did you?" she asked. "No, I'm not sure how they got away, though." "Well, being invisible helps," she said. Then she went on to explain that in the months since she moved into the space, there have been several unusual phenomena. In addition to the knocks, that included the sound of shuffling feet, the chairs being rearranged in empty rooms, and at first she'd searched the place thoroughly, certain someone had snuck in, but after a while she arrived at another explanation based on the suite's prior use. Though the Cambodian senior daycare had relocated to a new space 2 floors above, it seemed likely a few former attendees, no longer um, incarnate, didn't know about the move. Hence, they were still knocking politely to be let in and arranging chairs in a circle for a singlet song, just as they used to. Um, P.S. is not my only experience at the Uptown Bank. I once shared a bathroom with a ghost while visiting my. Okay, all right, we're done with that. Interesting. So I think I'm confused. So I think they found a logical explanation to it, or are they still insinuating it's ghost? Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I'll still upvote it, but yeah. All right. So this one is called "Something Pulled Me from My Bed at Night." And also, again, if you're just joining me over here on the TikTok side, I am live on YouTube. You can see what I'm reading. So feel free to join me over there if you like. If not, no worries. Okay, take a swig of water. Okay. So this happened 15 years ago. I was a college student that lived with my now wife and our dog in one room together with other students in other rooms. My girlfriend had to work one evening and she was to come back at around midnight. I had school next day, so I went to sleep a bit earlier and I was in our room together with our dog. We slept. I was laying on my bed next to the wall and on the right side was an empty bed placed for my girlfriend. Suddenly, I woke up and I didn't sleep anymore. I felt the presence of something else in the room. I felt something very dark. I was laying on my back, then opened my eyes, and something threw me from my bed on the floor. I did a 180 grade flip and 180 grade flip and was on all fours on the ground. Then I saw in front of me on the floor a huge dark circle that something wanted me to fall inside into the dark circle. I didn't see the person. I only saw the dark circle and I felt the power of something very strong that pulled me from my bed. I thought this was to be a demon that wanted me to fall into the hell. I don't know. I started to scream and cry very loud, and in that moment came my girlfriend inside into the room. Everything then was gone, but our dog started to bark exactly on the spot where the dark circle was. He barked about half an hour or about in half an hour and was very excited. This is absolutely true. That was no dream, as I can remember everything, and I was 100% awake at the time. I didn't do drugs or alcohol. I've had bruises and scratches on my body. There's no way that I could alone jump from my bed place, laying on my back over an empty bed place, and end up on all fours without help. Sorry for my English. This scared me. And it is 100% true. You know what's really interesting about the story is it does sound out there, and I'm not saying like, oh, it's 100% true or anything like that, but I'll be posting this video soon. I actually had the chance to talk to somebody that saw something like this, very, very similar to this. And it's so interesting because these are not, in my opinion, common stories. Like, I don't hear stories of people seeing like portals or anything like that, like dark holes in that sense. Um, or feeling like a dark presence. But surprisingly, like literally, like not this weekend, but last week, literally sat down with somebody and that was like one of their paranormal experiences. So I can't wait to share that story with you guys. Um, but wow, like so interesting that I so happened to read this and then like literally like a week ago, less than a week ago, I was hearing something very similar. So it makes me wonder, I probably should, right? Like do a story, post a story, but also like talk about the strange phenomena of like portals, right? I think it's just interesting. I don't know. Maybe not, might not be anything. Who knows? I don't know, but it is weird. Um, so yeah, that is very fascinating. And also, thank you for the likes. Seriously, thank you. And also, thank you for the people that are on my YouTube. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. And if you are just joining me, just know that I am live on YouTube and you can see what I'm reading out loud on there. So if you want to join me on there, feel free. If not, no worries. Okay, so this is called Three Stories, or well, this is three stories: The Lady by the Pool and A Haunted Manor. So I wrote this as a response. It's interesting survey posted here, and I thought I would share with the rest of you. It's long, but I hope someone will find it interesting. Oh my gosh. So I've had several experiences, but I will stick to relating the three most vivid and memorable of them. The first encounter was when I was 13 years old and was at a friend's house, having just come out of their barn where I was looking after their horses. When I came out, I saw a woman in a red shirt walking from the house and over to the pool, where she stood gazing into the water. I was standing roughly 20 yards away and mistook the woman for my friend's mother, as she looked very similar. I didn't think anything of it and went into the house via the garage and was very surprised to encounter my friend's mother in the kitchen wearing a blue shirt. I asked her if she had just changed or been outside, but she hadn't, and there was no one by the pool anymore. I can't remember with 100% certainty, but I think she said that although she hadn't personally seen anything in like that, at the house, she had experienced the children going in the closet and talking to someone friendly who wasn't there several times when they were much younger. That, of course, could have just been the antics of small children, but it made me wonder if it was connected with what I saw. Ooh. I do think it's interesting. So there's I have a nephew, and here's my thing. He When he was a kid, he would talk to someone in his room, and when I would go in there, be like, "Who are you talking to?" He was like, "No one." And this is like the same nephew that I think I shared a while ago, like how when I went to my godmother's wake, and for like us Latinos and in some Latino culture, we do this thing where we pray over a loved one for like 10 days right after they pass away and for 10 years. So that included that when we did the wake, there was like a prayer there. And when like my nephew saw this happening, like he was acting very strange and he claimed he saw like this angel or like this lady in white by her coffin. Yeah, so that's what it makes me think of. Um yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Either way. Okay, so now these are the other experiences from that user. Um so this happened when I was a student at what was called, I can't say that, so I apologize, but it was in Denmark, which is a type of non-grade school for adults, where people lived at the school for a semester and take classes primarily in art, music, literature, and politics. This particular school was situated in an old manor house called a solist, which has variously been a party manor for the nobility, a haunting lodge or an orphanage, and an asylum before it was a hojo. I'm so bad for this. I can't even say it. And I'm like reading in real time, so I feel bad. The first incident there happened during during a summer party in the middle of the day while I was standing with a group of 6 or so people smoking in the courtyard. I was the only one directly facing the building where I could see the roof terrace that connected the headmaster's room with the so called princess room, which was reputably been the scene of several fairs through the ages, and most likely also was at the time not to defame the headmaster. Oh, wow. So they're insinuating that they were still okay. Anyway, the building and the terrace can be seen in this photo, although it's taken from the other side of the building. Um, it's not going to let me see it, so we're just going to stay here. Anyway, I clearly observed a large man in a black coat and with a bit of a stoop emerge from the princess room and walk across the terrace into the headmaster's chambers. I mistook it for the headmaster and was surprised when the headmaster himself walked around the corner and started speaking with me only a moment later. I explained my surprise and confusion to him, which he reacted to in very casual matter of fact way, saying it was probably one of the early masters of the building that I saw. He also told me very straightforwardly about several similar inexplicable things he had seen. Even when they say he had Even saying that he had encountered and spoken with a very young blonde boy in the basement who was upset and lonely and said he was locked down there as a punishment. Another teacher there told me that he had um, several times experienced being alone in his room with no one else in the building and watching his door handle being turned and the door being open uh, eventually by no one. The headmaster believed it was the same boy he had encountered in the basement, and that the boy was most likely a remnant of the days when the building was a likely abusive orphanage. Oh no, that's so sad. Okay, fast forward 2 to 3 years later, by which time I had been upgraded from being a student to being a TA all around helper at the school. I was set to return to the States the next day, and the school was out of session. So there was no one in the building except for myself and the headmaster, who was in his chambers in the other wing of the building. It was the night of the new moon in late October, with stormy weather and a hard and unsettling wind coming over the lake. It was getting late, and I was going around the ground floor making sure all the doors and windows were locked for the night. I locked the last door in the dining hall and walked past the grand piano as I was leaving. Right as I walked past it, it gave a tremendous bang, like someone had just slammed both their arms down on all the keys at once. I stood there for a moment or two, quite startled, and tried to see if I could recreate it by walking the same way I had just done so. Thinking maybe I had somehow caused it by stepping on a loose floorboard or something alike. But I couldn't get it to make the sound again. Admittedly feeling a bit rattled, I continued on to the main entrance chamber and started to go upstairs to where the student rooms were located at the time and where the banquet hall had been located in the earlier days. Halfway up the stairs, I paused on the landing because I could clearly hear the sounds of what seemed to be a large dinner party. The sounds of clinking glasses and silverware, the scraping of chairs, and the buzz of lively conversation in a large open room. I could only estimate that it sounded like at least like 30 people, maybe like 40 or 50. I stood on the landing and listened for several minutes, and the sounds remained clear as day. Unfortunately, and extremely frustratingly, my phone turned out to be out of battery when I pulled it out to try to record sounds. After a few minutes and having no way to go to bed, I continued up the stairs. Um, the sounds got clearer and clearer, seeming for all the world like there was really a fine dinner party on the other side of the door. I simply couldn't believe my ears and hesitated again for a while on the last step, beginning to feel more and more afraid of what would happen when I finally opened the door. Finally, I dared to set foot on the top landing, and in precisely that instant, the sounds completely ceased. I walked through the wing and didn't see anything or hear anything out of the ordinary, and then reached the staircase on the other wing where I had greedily decided to sleep in the princess room instead of the one I had been living in all semester. Partway up the stairs, the lights suddenly cut out, and I had to crawl on my hands and knees in the pitch darkness the rest of the way up to the top floor where the princess room was located. I quickly regretted my choice of venue because the wind coming off the lake was slamming the window so hard that I actually thought the glass might shatter. I was, however, too spooked and tired by that point to bother gathering my things and going back to my old room. I did at least have the foresight to lock the door, which I was profoundly grateful for when around 3 in the morning I heard several loud knocks on my door. Oh my gosh. And then watched in horror as the door handle was forcefully turned several times, at which point I surrendered to my fear and hid under my blanket like a little kid. I didn't sleep a wink that night and exhaustingly related the whole story to the headmaster over breakfast the next morning. And again, he was completely unfazed by it, and said that he had always experienced a lot of activity and general spookiness at that time of year, especially when the building was almost empty. He also remarked that it was foolish for people to be spooked by a full moon, when it was really a new moon that should be people should be worried about. Unfortunately, the school closed down a couple years ago, and I'm not aware of what the building is being used for now. But I feel certain that people will continue to experience unusual and inexplicable things there as the manor continues its long and varied history. Wow, 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 guys. Happy birthday. Oh no, what? People forgot your birthday? I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh my gosh. Please wish happy. I see that your username looks like a sword to me, so I'll just call you Sword. But please wish happy birth please in the chat wish you happy birthday. That's so sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Um, Geez, that was a very, like, crazy story. Oh, Avi, people on the YouTube side are wishing you happy birthday too, Sword. Um, Dang, like, but that story though, I think it makes sense. I've always thought about that. One of my friends, she's a paranormal investigator, and till this day, like, her I wanna say, like, the one of the most haunted experiences that she has ever experienced was in the UK. I know the story is, like, set in Denmark, but I always think about that, like, hauntings and how they shift based on, like, region and location because of, like, how much older things are than the US. Um, so yeah, I don't know, it's just very fascinating. I personally, like, I don't mind experiencing paranormal things, but when I hear, like, a door like, something aggressively move and shake, I don't know if I could even handle that, like, I don't even know if I would like that. I live alone and I was here knocking every night. Oh, no, I gotta put some salt. Put some salt by that door entrance. Um, yeah, that's wild. I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. I think, like, for me personally, anything that moves very aggressively just automatically, like, freaks me out, if I'm being honest. Luckily, I've never experienced anything like that. I think, like, the thing that we experienced in real time was when we went to the All Saints Lunatic Asylum, and I do have a I have that video. Um, it's been a while now, but I have that video, and think I don't think it's on my YouTube yet. I still need to post. I have part 1 when I went there on my YouTube, but the mannequins that moved on their own, like, we walked into that room and, like, the head of the mannequin moved on its own and looked right at my husband. I think that was one of the first times I ever saw something, like, move so quickly, in real time, and everyone saw it. Like, you could hear, because I wasn't alive too, and you could hear the head move. Like, it was so dark in there, so and I wasn't, like, facing it all the way, which makes me so sad, but yeah, I don't know. I think, like, hearing, like, weird I think for me personally, anything with, like, doors just freak me out like that. The other story that kind of freaked me out was when I had a friend who lived in this house, and apparently, like, the basement used to be, like, this, like, ice cream shop, which is really interesting setup if you think about it. So it's like a house, and you go into the basement, and that's, like, the ice cream parlor or something like that. And I remember that, like, there was, like, the original, like a lever or something like that that they would use for, like, sodas and stuff. And I guess, like, that moved on my friend said that she saw it move on its own. So her room was in the basement and it just moved on its own. I'm like, "Oh gosh, no." That is scary. Okay, so I'm gonna give this an upvote. Okay, keep going, keep going. So let me see the comments. Okay. All right, we'll read this one. Ghost of my grandmother. And if you are on my YouTube side, you can read what I am sharing on there if you want to see it. If not, no worries. Just wanted to make the announcement. If you want to join me over on the YouTube side, it would mean a lot to me, but no worries either way. Okay, so this all took place when I lived in my old apartment when I was around 11 years old. And to start off, one of my aunts who lived in New York drove to drop off my grandmother's ashes when we lived there prior. I can't say I felt uneasy with having her ashes around. I actually didn't think much of it. Later that night, as I was making hot chocolate for myself and my sister, I had 2 cups sitting on the table when I was pouring the hot water into the first cup. The other one started to shake and move. I didn't think much of it because I thought that it was just a bit of water. I spilled on the table, so once I grabbed that cup, the other one filled with water started to move too, and this is when I started to feel very uneasy. That was the only first encounter. The second one is what freaked me out the most. My sister and I were in my mom's room while she was at work, and my sister got up to take a shower, which was right next to my mom's room. I got a bit of chills being alone, but I went to get some water, and on my way back to the room, I walked closely to the door before a very gray and brown distorted face slammed the door. Oh, I'm reading that like, ah. Okay, let me read that again. When I walked closely to the door before a very gray and brown distorted face slammed the door, I got so scared I shook for a moment. For some reason, I grabbed a knife from the kitchen, fearing someone was actually in the room. I broke into the room with the knife, looked around as fast as I could, but no one was there. I couldn't tell if my mind was playing tricks on me, but it definitely felt like it. Um, yeah. That's scary. Anytime I tell someone the story, they assume it was the air in the room that closed the door, but it was slammed. It was the air in the room that closed the door, but it was slammed way too aggressively. But to this day, we still have her ashes, but nothing happened since then. I guess it was just the first couple of days of her being back and wanted to see me. Still thinking about it gives me chills. I mean, yeah, it could be the smoke, it could be something else. I have no idea. That it's hard to say. Any Minnesota stories? Oh gosh. Honestly, I don't know. Okay, so here's one. So feel I don't have one off the top of my head, but I will say this about Minnesota. I feel like the Midwest, because of like the tragic, and I know it's all over the US, but primarily like in Minnesota, I knew of some very tragic insane asylums. And I remember in the small town that I lived, there were one day I was going to visit Hell's Tunnel. Now, Hell's Tunnel is like this tunnel in my small town. You had to go through like this park in the woods, and then it would take you to the tunnel, and there's these train tracks. And if you were on the train tracks, and I don't have, I mean, I was a kid back then, like don't condone that. But if you crossed it, there was like this trail, and the little trail led me to this graveyard of all these children that were no more than 10 years old. It was so many different age ranges, but no more than 10 years old. They all died at a very young age. Why was this graveyard in the middle of nowhere hidden? Who was cutting the grass? Who I want to know, because like it's really interesting that you had to know where you would go. And you want to know something? I do want to go to Minnesota, and I do want to do footage of this place to show you guys, because I've been talking about it sometimes on this live, and I wish I had a point of reference, because you can't just like Google it. Again, you'd have to know where to go, and you'd have to know. So, yeah, maybe one day I can share that with you guys. If not, who knows? Maybe it's just this. Maybe watch. I go there and it's just gone. That would freak me out. But yeah, there's like so many tombstones, and they're like all under 10. And I was a teenager at the time in like the early 2000s. It's not like Google is the way it is now. Like, yeah, there's Google and stuff, but it's not, I don't think there's not like, for me at least, I didn't know about like Reddit. I didn't know about all these things. And so I would just go with like the town lore around it. And the lore around it was that there's this graveyard there because evidently there was like this insane asylum where these kids were tragically put there, and there was a house fire and they all died. I don't know. I would love to go back and do some research on this place. Um, so yeah, fun stuff. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so I do have a YouTube, so if you guys want to check out my live and see what I'm reading over on the YouTube side, feel free to do that. I also have my investigation video of the All Saints Lunatic Asylum that my husband and I went with two friends of ours, and there's that too. I go live. Yes, I go live on both YouTube and TikTok. I've been trying to do more. It's just that I do have a new job, and so it just makes it harder for me to do lives. Also, these last couple of weeks have been kind of like packed. Like there was the San Diego Comic-Con, there was Midsummer Scream. So yeah, there's all of that stuff. um am posting stories. So I do have stories posted on my TikTok, as these last couple of videos I just posted. I did ask people, some of my friends and mutuals, their ghost stories. So I will be posting those. If you haven't seen those, feel free to check those out. I don't know what's been going on with the algorithm on TikTok. It's just been, at least for me, it's been kind of weird. Like my views have been going downhill. I don't know if maybe it's just videos. I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. What are you saying? What are you saying? Okay. Oof. Oh, I feel so bad for you. Why do that? I feel so bad for people to do that. Hi, Harley. Happy birthday. Feel free to wish Harley. I hope I say your name right. Feel guys, please wish Harley happy birthday. Oh my goodness. Happy birthday. um Gosh, it's always good. I mean, someone once told me it's always good to have birthdays. Okay. So, I guess I can read another. Yes, the algorithm has just been so annoying. Like, I mean, I don't know, I just love making content and I love sharing ghost stories with people. I think that makes me I feel like ghost stories are like the best, and I don't care what anyone says, the best icebreakers ever. They're the best. Um, so yeah, they're like the best icebreakers. And so when I went to Midsummer Scream, I asked people and it was like the best conversation starter. So there's that. Okay. So yes, I'm still doing TikTok. I'm still doing YouTube lives for sure. I want to continue doing those. All right, so I'm gonna read this one and then we'll call it. Okay, so this one is called. Ooh, my cat scared me. I like moved my foot and I felt like my cat's fur, but I wasn't expecting it because she was very quiet. Usually, like when she enters the room, she's a very polite kitty. She like meows when she enters the room, and she also meows when she jumps on the bed, so I know where she's at. But she startled me today. Today, she's like, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm gonna scare you. And she did. So, all right, this one's called Random Shadow. My grandparents' house always has a lot going on in it when it comes to strange and unexplained. Last night, my mom and sister were going to bed. My sister ran out of her room saying she had just had a shadow walk past her out of the door and into my grandparents' room. When I was living there and recently when visiting, I had seen shadows of people where they shouldn't be. We all have an idea one who of who one of an idea of who one of the spooks might be, but we're not sure why they would be haunting the house as they didn't actually die there. Also, do ghosts have a habit of traveling between places? I've seen the same shadow in my home miles away from my family. Okay, so here's a thing about shadows. So I know people are scared of shadows and they think some might think that they're like bad and malicious, but some this is what I think. I think that while yes, shadows might not be like always good things, there is you can tell like in this story it's like a loved one. Um it's when people haven't fully developed their like mediumship side and so like they can see and feel the essence of them but not fully there yet. So there's that. Oh, thank you for the rose and finger heart. Oh, that's so sweet of you. There's a historic Ozzy and Dave Venture. There's a historic train accident by my neighborhood. I have a shadow mist in my house now. Wait, can you clarify? Wait a minute. That sounds so tragic. I do. Okay, so speaking of train stuff or train tracks, in the town that I lived, there was a lot of train stuff or little train tracks throughout the town. And I would always hear, not always, but like often hear of like accidents with train tracks and stuff. And it is very, very tragic. Um, as Chris says, I just moved yesterday, not exactly paradise, just Stowe. Oh no. I live in an RV because in California, houses are they are very expensive. Trust me. When I first moved to California, I had rented out an RV for a couple of months uh, during my transition. Because you're right. Like, I feel housing is not only expensive, but also like Airbnbs have become very expensive too. I don't know. I mean, I don't remember using Airbnbs early on, but I remember like so many people talking about how like Airbnbs used to be more affordable and you can like, like the long stays for Airbnbs were also affordable. But now it's like I remember when I moved out here, I was like, maybe I can stay at an Airbnb and it would be affordable. And I saw like some of the prices for Airbnb. It is ridiculous. It's so hard. So yeah. Victor said, "Hi, Victor. I've heard of ghosts attaching themselves to people and appearing in multiple areas." Yes, that's also another thing too, Victor. That was also another possibility. The house I have a mortgage on is half. Yeah, that's same. Like I think that's now unfortunately like the norm, and it's so crazy. Yes, Airbnb is so expensive. I hope I hope they come up with another thing and not a wait, what is a competitor to Airbnb? Does anyone know? I guess it would just be like like have checking out prices and specials for like hotels and motels. So here's a fun little fact. I know we're getting off tangent, but this is another little fun little tip for anybody traveling. When my husband and I went to Vegas, gosh, I can't even speak. Vegas. Vegas, gosh. Um, we had stayed one night at one of the casino hotels because there was like the first night you book has like a special, and then we got the second two, or we got two other nights at an Airbnb, and that was like the way that we could stay out there at an affordable price. But that's because like we had to like check different ways, whereas like if you were to stay at the Airbnb for 3 days or like the casino hotel for 3 days or 4 days that we were going to stay there, it would have been way more. So just like another fun fact, sometimes you got to like check those specials. um there's just like a, oh my god, thank you for the oh my god, Harley, you're too generous, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Chris. There is. I feel like we should do like a live all in like just scary Airbnb stories because I feel like there's so many of them. So many of them. There was when I was when I had moved to California, I had seen this very sketchy Airbnb posting. Like I don't know if anyone's seen this where you check the posting and it looks has like the picture, it has the same description, but then you look at these other listings in the nearby area, same picture, same description, but they're not even in the same area. So you know that it's just like a copy and paste of this Airbnb, but it's not the same. And then there's like bad reviews. I saw that a lot in the area that I was planning on staying on. I'm like, this is very sketchy. They're using the same picture, the same description in multiple, like the same town, I would say, but in different like neighborhoods and areas. So you know that they're not the same thing, if that makes sense. Um, and that was very sketchy for me. And then like the reviews are also really bad. I was reading the reviews and I'm like, what? How can some of these people get away? Does anyone remember this like Airbnb story of this couple? Oh my god, thank you. Harley, you're so sweet. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. So there was a story, and I don't remember if anyone remembers this, but it was circulating on TikTok. I did see it on Instagram because it made like headliners. But basically, this couple had stayed in this small little like shack somewhere in the south, and the couple had experienced some strange things, and upon further looking into it, it turns out that somebody, because they posted it on TikTok, this lawyer who happens to also live in the south, this he's a black guy, he started talking about how these shacks that people think they're just shacks were actually like what they used to like fit a lot of slaves back in the day. And so because of that, it like went viral, it made headliners. And so now Airbnb has to like disclose some of these things like that. Like if it's like a historical thing or anything like that, they have to now disclose it, which is interesting because in a way, kind of, for me personally, kind of falls into a paranormal scope because if they were feeling strange things and vibes, and I think I don't know if they were, I'm pretty sure it was also like they felt paranormal stuff. I don't remember. I had to double check. So I'll take that with a grain of salt. But all of that, and then this shack was not really a shack. It was a place of like tragedy and where slaves were being like just squeezed in there. It's wild to me. Anyway. But yeah, I feel like there's so many like real life crime situations with Airbnb and also supernatural. Yeah, of course. I report like that. I'd report something like that to Airbnb, but I've heard they had a bad. Yes, I've heard. Yes, Victor, I've heard that Airbnb may not always have like the best customer service, which is wild. Because I think there was another one. So there was a story. I don't know if you guys remember this one too. It was on TikTok. This woman she went to Mexico. I'm pretty sure she had stayed in Mexico, and she was basically being spied on. She had, which is also a thing that everyone should do when you're traveling, carry a camera with you, like something that you can leave in the hotel or Airbnb and leave it recording because you never know who's going to enter your space. Well, she had done that. So she had like a camera. She left it there as she left, and she saw that someone had like she saw that there was a door that she didn't know was a door that was in use where like the owner was going in and out of the Airbnb when she was gone. And it was like so sketch to the point that like she ended up like leaving, and I think Airbnb did not want to refund her or something like that, and she took it up to the internet, good old internet. It got so much traction, and finally Airbnb finally did something about it because it hit so much traction on the internet, which is fair. I mean, like if you're catching someone spying on you and coming into your space when you're not there, and like Airbnb doesn't want to do something about it, like that's awful. Like, why wouldn't what? They have so much money. They need to refund her. You know, they should have never been a thing where the internet, because it's like getting virality on the internet, Airbnb finally wants to reimburse her for that. You know, it's just stupid. A ghost story of mine. Oh gosh. So this is one that I haven't shared as often on here. I know I share the one about like the mocking or like something mocking my sister's or mimicking my sister's voice. But the one that really gets to me, so I was in middle school and I lived in this small town in Minnesota. Um, and at the time, I was super into like Anne Rice books, like Interview with the Vampire, Queen of the Damned. I don't know if anyone remembers this. Um, like just like the era of like the vampire like blow up and like everyone getting it. I mean, I feel like it's kind of resurging now, but like back when I was in middle school, it was like Twilight, Vampire Diaries. But prior to this blow up, I was super into like again the Anne Rice Chronicles and like I loved her books. And part of that got me into like the whole lore, folklore stuff. So I remember my friend and I had walked to the library that day. We got some books. And this is like just a funny thing, but as a middle school person, I had no idea that I had rented out an erotica book. That's a story for a different day. But I got that book because it was like werewolves. And so I thought I was going to get a book on werewolves and stuff. But my friend got another book too. I think she actually got a true werewolf book. I don't remember the whole thing on it. It's been a minute, so I don't remember all the fine details of that. And anyway, that night was like a full moon. And so the way that we lived on the same block, but it was like you'd walk up to the stop sign, take a right, and that was my house. Like it was kind of like a corner, like think of an L shape. And in the L, like in the corner of the L was a stop sign, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I'd have to like I feel bad because it's kind of hard to like visualize. But anyway, because it was safe back then, walking home, you know, to each other's houses, as long as we did it together and we'd walk home like at night, 9 p.m. It was only like 4 houses away. We felt pretty safe. Now, on this day, when we got these books, we did read a couple. Like I read it, but I was like, "What the fuck am I reading?" And then I just put the book down, and she was into her book. And fast forward, we were walking to my house, and the full moon is out, and she's like, "Don't look at the full moon; something bad will happen." And I'm thinking that she's probably like maybe just joking and referring to like the werewolf books and stuff. Um, because keep in mind, like back when like the vampire boom came out with like Twilight and everything, I think people are also trying to get into werewolves because like they kind of go hand in hand, I suppose. Anyway, so I'm like looking at the full moon and I'm like trying to like just taunt her with it. Like she told me not to look at the full moon, so I'm just gonna keep on looking at it. So I look at it, and out of nowhere, we hear these footsteps. And we turn and look, and it's like this shadow figure coming straight at us. Now, one might argue it's nighttime, probably can't see this person. And yeah, you're probably right. But what's weird is that I know for 1,000% for a fact. When it's a full moon, you can usually see everything, like because the full moon is illuminating everything and your eyes are adjusting. But second of all, by the stop sign, there is like the street lights there. Like it's like the corner where all the street lights are on. So you can see everything. So whatever this figure is doing, it's like running to us. We're running. We ran past the thing. I look back. I cannot like I can't even see any like because you know, like even if it's pitch dark, there's like your face is oily. Like you know how I have like highlights and stuff on my face? You can see, you should be able to see something. Like you should be able to see something like accentuating a face outline to some degree, right? Like, should be able to see someone's like maybe nose or mouth or something. I couldn't see this guy at all. My friend and I swear to God, could not see anything. It looked like a fucking shadow. Excuse my language, just like running towards us. So we're booking it to my house. I lock the glass because I had a glass porch door in front of the house. I lock it. And I'm literally paralyzed. I think that was one of the very few times in my entire life I was paralyzed in fear. And I'm looking at whatever the heck this thing is. It like stops running and just like it's like moving really weird too. It like moves slowly and stops in front of the house. And I was like, what is happening? My friend is just like seeing them getting paralyzed, just staring at it. She grabs because I had a lanyard around my neck with my keys. She yanks it drags me into the door, unlocks the door, well, unlocks the door, drags me in there. We get inside the house with the lights off. I think this had been like past 9 p.m. at this point. It was really late at night. My mom wasn't home because she used to work like the late shifts and stuff. And then we were watching this creepy figure, whatever it was. It walks across the street. It just sinks into like these pine trees that my neighbor has. And I'm thinking, like, I could see the outline of the mailboxes across the street and everything else. Why can I not see any light bounce off this figure? I hope this makes sense. It is a really crazy story that I never really tell people because it's like, it's so out there. And I remember, like, I had a memory unlock of this story, I think back in like 2018, 2017. I don't know, it was a while ago. And I text my friend that experienced that with me. And I said to her, "Do you remember this night?" And she just put, "Yeah, period. Nothing else, nothing more." I could tell that it freaked her out. I could tell that it was like, "Oh my god, let's not talk about this," because it freaked her out. And so, yeah, I know I wasn't the only one that saw this. So, yeah, it was really weird. Oh, thank you for that, RJ, wishing nothing but happiness. Oh, thank you. So sweet of you. There's a full moon tonight. There is. You're right, there is. Hi, Strange Darkness Radio. You guys are amazing. Um, Victor says, "Oh, going back to Airbnb stuff. I've seen videos of people bringing scanners to check." Ooh, that's a good idea too. Scan it. Chris says, "Haunted Location Trio is finally coming soon, right? I mean, still haven't seen it." Haunted Location Trio. Wait, what do you mean by that? Sorry. Remind me, Chris. Yeah, so I don't know, that's a weird story. I don't till this day I don't know what it is. I've um I've put the story on Monsters Among Us because you can call them and like submit your stories, and I did that. And I remember that day that I told the story. I was in Denver. It was like 2020. Yeah, it was summer of 2020. I was living in Denver, and we had a uh it was raining it was really raining a lot, and the power went out as I was telling the story, so that was scary. The second story, oh my god, I repeat it all the time. I feel so bad, for people that probably have heard the story. But basically, I had 2 sisters. We shared a room. One was working at Chuck E. Cheese, the other one was with me cleaning the closet, and we heard something mimicking my sister who was not there. She was working at the Chuck E. Cheese, and this is before cell phones, so when we called her job, she was there. There was, like, no way that she would have been in the house calling out our names in distress. It was weird. It was just not it was not fun. And when I revisited the story, my sister and I concluded that whatever was mimicking my sister's voice, I thought she said my name 3 times, but my other sister heard the voice say her name 3 times. So it was really trying to get both of our attention. And I think that is a really freaky experience. Very, very freaky. Yeah, not fun at all. And there's theories like maybe there was like a spirit that was trying to get our attention. Some people think it was like some type of entity trying to get our attention. I think the one that I really like the most that I think makes the best sense. So I had a mentor, and she said that she really believes, and she's a medium. She's one of the best mediums I ever have known in my entire life. She recently died from cancer, so she's no longer with us. But she believes that the reason why I heard my sister calling out our names in such distress is that those seconds that we took out of our day to call her while she was at work was like maybe like a spirit guide or like a guardian angel, if you will, or whatever you want to use, but in taking those minutes to call her and, like, just checking in on her, it might have, like, borrowed some time so something bad wouldn't happen to her. So for an example, this is just an example, not to say if this would have happened. Like, let's just say, like, I call you and check in on you for like a minute or two. Well, those 2 minutes that I stopped you from what you were originally going to do might have saved you from like a car accident. Does that make sense? So, like, my mentor strongly believes that. I've had other theories, but I think that's the one that I think I can stick with and I like. Um, but I don't know, it's hard to say because there's so many things that, like, mimic voices, and it's creepy because I think they're like yeah, I think to some degree, it's like we both heard it, but what's creepy is that we both heard our own names and not my name. Oh, thank you, Strange Darkness Radio. Thank you for that, and thank you, Chris. Yes, I would love to be back on your show. Yeah, you guys are great. Um, so hi, I see they have an emoji, so I don't know your name, I'm so sorry, but hi. I think you have like a is it a princess or queen emoji? I don't know. Oh, yeah, so I am on the YouTube side, you guys, so if you guys are wondering, I'm on YouTube. You can join me on there, if not, no worries. Okay, so it's up there in time. I'm up there in time. I have to be up early, but I really wanted to share ghost stories with you guys because I haven't been live in a minute. I haven't. Um, and it's always fun being live and sharing ghost stories. So, but I'm gonna end the live. It was so much fun. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I have 5, 6 people tonight on my YouTube live. That's amazing. I'm really grateful for you guys. Like, seriously, thank you so much. Um, You guys are so sweet. All right, I'm gonna end the live. Thank you. Have a good night. Stay spooky, but hopefully nothing comes to you. Nothing will come to you guys tonight. I know it won't. This is all fun stuff, not anything, you know, not anything low energy. So you guys are great. All right. Have a good night. I'm ending it now. I'm ending it. Have a good night. Bye, guys. Okay.